All right, let's get into the monthly market stats, and I'll let you know what happened in April and what is likely to happen in the near future. So the heading here, balanced conditions take pressure off prices. This definitely summarizes it quite well. So there were a boost in new listings this month relative to sales, which caused inventories to rise to almost 6,000 units. This is more than double the levels reported last year, but last year we had exceptionally low inventory levels, so it's not that outlandish or crazy. It's not that bad at all. It's just we're not in the extreme seller's market conditions anymore. And sales in April reached 2,236 units, 22% below last year's levels. So again, not bad at all. It's just we're comparing it to an outlier. Last year was a bit crazy to start off the year, no inventory and lots of sales. Now, they also make a note here that levels are still outpacing the activity reported during the times before the pandemic. So 2015 to 2020 were fairly challenging for Calgary's real estate market. And so we're nothing like that right now in Calgary. So even if there is some economic uncertainty right now regarding tariffs, it's nothing like it was before the pandemic. So that's good news. And the next paragraph here, the rise in inventory levels helped the market shift to balanced conditions with nearly 3 months of supply. Definitely once you're in like the 3-month territory, 3-4 months, that's more of a balanced market. If we're getting into like 5 months or higher, that would definitely be a buyer's market. And I think a balanced market is good for everyone. It's not too cold, it's not too hot, it's just right. I think it's good for both buyers and sellers. And with the balanced market, additional supply has helped relieve the pressure on home prices following the steep gains reported over the past several years. Now let's look at the actual numbers here. So the sales, 2,236, down 22%. Again, we're comparing to a bit of a crazy month. This time last year, it was still red hot. New listings, 4,038, up 15.7%. So the trend is we're still seeing more listings coming to the market. Inventory, 5,867, up 115% year over year. Now, somebody asked me in the past, what's the difference between new listings and inventory? So say we took 4,038 listings in the month, but we sold 2,000 of them, then the other 2,000 would be added to the existing inventory, if that makes sense. Months of supply, 2.62. This is the stat where if no one could list a property for sale, it would take 2.62 months to sell the remaining inventory on the market. This is pretty good, even though it's up 177% year over year. That just means that we had nothing for sale last year. There was no inventory, and now we're a bit more balanced. So that's why this number looks so alarming. It's just we're comparing it to having 0 listings. Total residential price, $591,100, down 1.4%. I can't recall seeing the total residential price being a negative year over year until this month. So the market has definitely shifted. Now I'm a bit confused by this because these are all up. So detached, semi-detached, row, and apartments are all up, but the average is down. So I don't know how they figured that out. So the detached price, $769,300, up 2.4%. Duplexes, $691,700, up 3.6%. Row houses, $457,400, up 0.5%. And apartment prices, $336,000, up 0.1%. So these two sectors right here, row houses and apartments, I would say these are struggling the most right now in our current market. And I'll get into this as we go forward. And I'm just going to skip to this section. I think it's a little bit easier to see it like this. So this is just for the city of Calgary comparing last April to this April. So sales are down. You can see here there were 2,876 last year, down to 2,236. New listings, there were 3,500 roughly. Now there were 4,000. So sales are down, listings are up. Inventory went from 2,700 to 5,800, so up 115%. Real estate is just supply and demand. So the less sales, more inventory. It takes the pressure off pricing. Months of supply was 0.95, crazy red hot conditions. Now it's 2.62, up 177%. Sales to new listings. So this is a metric that kind of shows how the market is performing. Sales to new listings of 82% is crazy red hot. That was last year. Now this year it's 55%. So definitely the market is just more balanced is what this metric represents. Sales to list price ratio. I get buyers who ask me, what should we offer on this property? Well, if this was last year, you would have to offer over list price on average to get the home. It was 101.89% of list price. That means you're offering over list price. This past month, 98.80%. So it's actually changed by 3.1%. So in Calgary, the listings sell fairly close to list price still. I think the worst I've seen was like 2016, 17. This got down to like 95, 96%. And the hottest was the last couple of years. It was maybe 102, 103%, if I'm just estimating. So it doesn't range all that much, but right now it's definitely more balanced. Days on the market was 20, now it's 29. This is still very fast, by the way. And in terms of pricing, I'll just use the median price. It was 566, 250 last year, and now it is 590, up 4.1%. This should level off as we have more inventory come to the market. And if we look at regional pricing, this is the average of all property types. So detached, semi-detached, condos, townhouses. City center, 594, 800, down 2.6%. Again, these are all down except for the south part of the city. I think this is the first since I've been doing these videos the last 2 years. Usually they were all up year over year, but now they're definitely, there's a change in the market. Look at the west side of Calgary, 717, 400. This is the most expensive part of Calgary on average. So down 0.3%. Northwest Calgary, 649, 900, down 0.9%. And the north, south, and the southeast are typically around the average price ranges. So the north, 553, down 2.9%, south, 590, and the southeast, 585. South is the only one that's up 0.2%, southeast down 0.6%. And the most affordable parts of Calgary are the northeast and the east section. 509, 100 is the average price in northeast, down 2.6%. And the east part of Calgary, 429, 200, down 1.9%. Now let's look at the months of supply and price changes graph. So the months of supply, again, that's the stat where if nobody could list a property for sale, it would take how many months to sell the remaining inventory. And the blue is the months of supply on this graph. And the reason I bring this up is because I've had some people lately who say the market is so bad in Calgary, they're going to hold off, they're going to wait to see what happens with tariffs and the election, and they're just not really sold on the market. But if you look at the actual months of supply and the price changes, it's actually a pretty good time in Calgary. Not red hot like it used to be, like during the 2022, 2023, but we're not that far off from that. And if you look back at like 2015 to 2020, like we used to have a way more difficult time selling homes in Calgary in those years. So I think it's still pretty good. I'm not all that concerned with the amount of inventory. And if you talk to a lot of different mortgage brokers, most of them are swamped right now. So there is still healthy demand, buyer demand in Calgary, and there's really not that much inventory compared to in the past. Now, if we look at the detached sector, different parts of the city are performing better. And for example, the city center, the year-over-year benchmark price has gone up 4.79%. And other parts of the city, like the northeast, are down 0.25%. Other parts are flat, like 0.4% in the east. And if we look at inventory levels, if you look at, say, West Calgary, one of the more expensive parts of the city, not that much inventory, 234 active listings. So months of supply, 2.17, but the average price here is like 987,500, and the pricing is up 3.2%. So if you are out there watching this, don't think that every part of Calgary is performing the same. And you might want to be cashing out of some areas, like the east part of Calgary or the northeast, and maybe you want to get out of a condo or a townhouse and get into a single family home. Well, some of those areas, they're still seeing price growth. So you might want to cash out from, like, say, a townhouse in northeast Calgary and move into a single family home in the city center or the west side. Now, if we move into the apartment sector, completely different story than the detached sector. For the year-over-year benchmark price changes, you see a lot of negative numbers here, except for the northwest and the west side. They're actually positive, so up 2.76%, up 3.31%, and the rest are negative or flat. So depending on where you are in the city, you might see more inventory and falling prices, or you might see less inventory and maybe even some bidding wars in certain pockets. So if you're out there watching this and you're just confused with what's happening, give me a call. Let me know what your situation is. I can definitely help you out because each part of Calgary is a bit different. Now, if we move into the semi-detached sector, same thing, where certain sectors are performing poorly and some are doing quite well. If we look at Northwest Calgary, for example, the sales to new listings ratio, 74.29%. That's still a hot seller's market. But if we go into Northeast Calgary, 35%. That's not good at all. So there's 4.47 months of supply in the northeast part of Calgary. That's definitely getting up there. That's more of it's still a balanced market, but once that gets to like 5 or so, I would say that's a buyer's market. And if you look at Northwest Calgary, 1.31 months of supply. And lastly, real quick, let's talk about the townhouse sector. This market used to be red hot. There was no inventory. It was tough for buyers to secure homes. There's bidding wars. It was tough. But the market's done a complete about face, and this townhouse sector is actually struggling now. You see here in Northeast Calgary, 5.5 months of supply. I would say if you looked like a year ago, these would probably all be under 1. There was like no inventory, and now it's just completely different. So again, if you are watching this and you're kind of confused what's happening, it depends on where you are in the city and the product type that you have. So give me a call if you do have some questions. And for a more visual representation of what's happening, let's check out the year-over-year price growth comparison. So this breaks down the different areas of the city. So the city center, northeast, north, northwest, and the different product types. So detached apartments, semi-detached. You can see here for detached homes, mostly positive pricing, except for Northeast Calgary, there's a bit of a negative here. For apartments, different story, lots of negative price growth. For Northeast, North, Southeast, and the east side of Calgary, you're seeing falling prices for apartments. Semi-detached is a bit more healthy compared to apartments. And then row houses, we're also seeing some negative areas for Northeast Calgary and North Central. And next up, let's talk about the City of Calgary detached sales by price range. Now, I bring this up because I get a lot of buyers still who are like, I want to buy a detached home, 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a garage for $400,000. It's becoming near impossible in Calgary. If we look at this graph, the blue is from 2022 and the red is 2025. If we look at under 300,000, you could still find the odd detached home in 2022, but not anymore. There's 0 for 2025. Before COVID, you could find quite a few in the 300s, but not anymore. If we look at the price range 300,000 to 400,000, quite a few in 2022, almost none nowadays. There is some, but usually just land value. For 400,000 to 500,000, you can see here there are some, not too many. And then the bulk of activity would be 500,000 all the way to 1 million. All right, that's my take on the Calgary real estate market. If you are watching this and you have some questions, buying, selling, or relocating, if you go to my website, ryangillard.ca, if you go to the top here, you can go to the buy section, mortgage calculator. You can test out what the payments would be. You can view all properties. If you go to the sell section, you can request a home evaluation. The about section, you can actually book a call with me with my Calendly link. Or if you press contact us, you can actually send me a message directly through my website, and I will get it and get back to you. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you on the next video.